So it's another hot day here in the pit. So we're gonna try really, really hard not to overdo it too much. So one of the things we're going to talk about today is expectation. Uh, and by expectation, I mean, what am I hoping to accomplish? Am I working towards being an elite fighter, or am I just wanting to, get out to 1 or 2 weekends a year and just have some fun? I think it's something we have to ask ourselves going in, because what we do is not easy. If it was easy, everybody could do this, and everybody would, eventually get to the point where, in the SCA anyway, they would have these belts with the white leather belts. Expectation, time in. How much time am I willing to dedicate to getting to my goals? And what are those goals? For me, right now, it's maintaining a level that I'm happy with. To hopefully stay in good enough shape that I can continue to teach and that I can continue to compete at some level. For others, it may simply be just getting out on the field and realizing a dream. The idea of the heroic warrior, the fighter, the guy in the shield wall, or the guy leading the charge through the gate, right? It really, you have to think, what is it I want to do? How do I want to get there? How much time do I have in order to reach those goals? So, for me, I'm very much an advocate of the theory that I need to be spending time every day either working here at the Pell and just working on my movement, working on how my body mechanics work, the fluidity, getting my mind set to the point where, I'm doing things on automatic, right? Those kind of things. If I'm more serious, then, I want to be the top of that elite file, then I'm going to be putting time in armor every day. I'm going to be cross-training. I'm going to be working on my my cardio. And what we call cardio in the SCA, or for most of the time, and what we're talking is called burst cardio. Being able to, hit the accelerator and keep that accelerator going over a period. I'm going to be working on flow, threat recognition, situation awareness. What am I seeing? How am I seeing it? Right? So these are all the things I'm going to be thinking about. Right? The other thing I'm thinking that I'd be looking at too is the cross training. Right? Am I getting on my bike? Am I going for the walks? Am I doing the things I need to do to be physically active enough that I'm not going to hurt myself? I'm not going to tear things up. I'm not going to be causing long-term damage. So, when I'm working on this Pell, I have a goal. I have something that I am looking at accomplishing. Right now, as I said, I'm looking over the next 5-6 years of where I'm going to be in the process of teaching. How is it that I can still contribute to those people that are my students and that are seeking to reach those points in their fighting and in their that I've already had, I've already gotten to, I've already enjoyed. I'm looking at a hip replacement. Okay, so what have I got to do to be in good shape for that hip replacement? So, working on the Pell, moving, keeping the muscles in shape so that after I go through my surgery, I'm going to have the best possible opportunity to recover and get back to what it is I love to do. So, those are things in my mind, and I think things that you should consider as you go forward. So, I'm going to spend a little bit of time here. Now, some people say there and say, well, how long? I don't maybe have the time to do 100 shots a day, right? I speak and I talk and I do my shots, and yeah, I'm not doing it at an incredible speed or anything, because what I'm looking for is more the mechanics and the movement and those things, right? I mean, you can tailor your 100 the way you want. You can try to make every shot as fast and as hard as you can make it, right? Or you could be concentrating on things about where my feet are, where am I in relation to my Pell pole or my opponent, what's my measure? How am I working at that point, right? What's my timing like? Those things. These are all things you could be doing. These are all things that you should be thinking about. For me, like I said, I'm thinking about long term over the next few years. I had a goal that I set for myself when I was about 45, 50 years old. I wanted to still be competitive and doing this game at a high level when I hit 60. And I made it. I made that. And when I hit 60, I thought again, I want to be doing this at 70. Wouldn't that be amazing? Wouldn't that be incredible? And the problem is, for me, I'm looking at part replacements. So now I've got to be a little more realistic about it. Okay, right now I want to recover and I want to still be competitive at 65. Okay, dialed it back a little bit, pulled it back a little bit, right? I still believe I can make that goal. So whatever it is you're trying to achieve, make it realistic. My time at this Pell, I talk like this, and you know, I could shoot a video while I'm doing this, and it 15 to 20 minutes, right? But that's because I'm talking, right? When I actually look down at how long it actually takes me to do, at my speed, at the speed I prefer, 100 shots, that's only about 6 minutes of my day. 6 minutes. 6 to 10 minutes a day. That's all you need. That's all you have to have. And you know what? I put on my boots, and I put on things that, you know, help me in here, and also are things that I wear when I'm on the field so it feels right. You don't have to do that, right? All I'm saying is wear something that's comfortable, right? Shoes that are proper for your feet for doing this. I mean, you don't want to be out here in sandals, right, that are going to slip off your feet, and you don't want to be losing it, right? Think about what it is you're going to wear, what you're going to be doing today out here. Drink lots of water. Please, 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 make sure you have that water. Okay, so without further ado, I'm going to start again with my rattan waster, and I do call them waster because that was the traditional name for a practice sword, and literally that's what these are. Rattan sword, that's what we call them in the SCA. That's a really ancient tradition, and I do recognize that, and I celebrate that. But at the same time, I call it what it is. It's a waster. All right, so I'm going to start with that. Again, when you're checking them, make sure, you know, because if you're going to be using this later on for tournament and war, right, you want to make sure you got a fairly solid stick. This is a good time to check that. It's also a good time to check if you're using a basket hilt, like on my practice sword here. Make sure it's on there fairly solid. Okay. I'm going to put this guy aside for the moment. Today, what I'm going to be working on is I'm going to continue doing my rhythm and movements, making sure that my movements are all right. But I am going to be trying to move back and forth around the Pell at a set distance from it, right? Working my hip, feeling for any real problems that are with it, because in a couple of weeks, we are going to be out in the front end, basically, of our practice area here. And I'm going to be back in armor. I'm going to be working with some of my students doing some other things. So I want to make sure that I have no surprises coming from this hip. I know it's going to hurt, right? I know what it's going to cost me to be out there, right? I just don't want any sudden shocks and surprises because it will affect me in everything else I do. It'll affect me in my work. It'll affect me what I'm doing around my house, those kind of things. So I've got to make sure that whatever is going on is being communicated to me, and I'm not going to be surprised by it. So, again, on the Pell, I'm working that out. So, with the shield, again, I noticed something the other day, which was I have some torn threading up on the top of my shield, so I'm probably going to have to go down, probably today after I'm done this, and I'll do some repair work. Make sure your handle's in good shape. You know, this is a good time to check your equipment, making sure that everything is pretty much in play. Now, you notice I work with bare hands. I've got some cut knuckles and things, and that's usually just from rubbing in it. Wearing gloves. I mean, if you've got hands that you care about, unlike me, then wear some protection on them, okay? So again, I'm primarily a striker. I do have a thrusting tip. I do use that in moments that are opportunistic and tend to be a surprise. I don't depend on the thrusting tip. And again, as I've said over and over again, and I'll say it in every video, if I cannot do it with a steel-edged weapon, I will not attempt to do it with any form of waster, whether it be rattan or wood. Again, making sure that you've stretched everything out. Like I say, I tend to stretch everything and move everything a lot before I come out here and get to work on the Pell, but people don't want to sit here watching me do my stretches. We may do a video later in which we will show the different kinds of stretches that are beneficial. We'll also talk about the things that aren't. Again, just getting my movement, getting that feel. It's a hot day. I tend to move better on a hot day. Cold days, I don't like too much. So, where I'm working right now, again, as I've said in my previous videos, I'm striking from the first circle. So within that range where when I'm in stance, I do not actually have to step towards the target zone to strike it. So I'm pretty much set in. Looking at my Pell, striking pretty much in the sweet spot of the sword. Now once I figure that that's good, I'm right there, right, I'm going to just shift my stance a little bit, shift the position of my shoulders again, so that I am square to the assumed threat. And for me, facing mostly right-handed opponents, assumed threat would be here. I can also spend some time in the day, and I'll shift back over and work against what would be a left-hand opponent, and that would be here, shifting my stance so that I'm actually facing the threat coming from that direction. Okay? So again, shifting over to here. And I'm just I will always start out slow, just working the Pell, different spots. Now I can pick up speed if I want to. But again, if I'm working my mechanics, I'm more concerned with making sure that I am doing everything consistently, accurately, and effectively. Listening very carefully to my body as I go. Also listening to what the sword is telling me when it's striking, both by the feel in the handle and the sound it's making when it's striking the Pell. Lord Dunlop talks to me a lot, which is good. When I switch my foot lead, I'll try to make sure the toe of death, which is my lead toe, is pointing towards Lord Dunlop. So whether I'm using a sword side lead, shield side lead, my lead foot is pointing in the direction of travel. You notice I'll work from squat. Again. Control your breathing. Remember to breathe from your belly. Don't be afraid to look chunky. Inhibiting your performance because you're afraid of how you're going to show up in the pictures. Just remember, every crammer is going to make you look 5 to 10 pounds heavier than you are. And most of the armor that we wear, no matter what we think it makes us look like, it's funny when we look at our pictures and we sit there and see us and we sit there and go, good grief. Man, chainmail makes me look anyway. So, I love chainmail, by the way. So I'm going to switch now, for the sake of the video, back to the steel blade. And again, I need to take the gun oil out, clean this, because I'm noticing that Lord Dunlop has been spitting on my sword. Bad Lord Dunlop. Black goo on my sword. Black blood. Now everything you're watching me do, you can also, you're a two-hander, do this two-handed. Right, I mean, it's easy enough to do. If you're Florentine, what we call Florentine in the SCA, or what I prefer to call it, is brace or case, where you're using the two weapons. Again, same thing. Practice one side. Practice the other side. Practice your movement. Practice using both blades together. Depending on your style, rhythm. In this exercise, you're thinking about where your feet are in relation to the post. Right? Your range is so important. Your measure is so important here. Right? You don't want to be all the time standing here. The other thing is every shot, a lot of beginner fighters, they make the mistake of, with every shot, they step towards their target. And guess what happens? They step towards the target, and then they're here. So when they try to do the same shot again, they're choking out. They're bringing it in here, which it's like, you're fighting like a Tyrannosaurus Rex with front paws. That's not right. So, again, I prefer to do almost all my Pell work with steel when I'm doing it without the sake of video, for the most part. When I'm not making it, when I'm just doing it for me, I pretty much do everything just with the sword, with the steel sword. So again, though, every time I come out, I inspect, make sure that my blade is healthy, no cracks, no strange sounds in it. Everything is tight. And again, the steel blade tells us where our hand position is. Tells us, gives us immediate feedback on whether or not we are striking true or we're just flailing around with a club. And again, this is important. Now, again, I look to, okay, you can call it the elite end, you can call it the pure end, whatever name you want to put onto it, right? It's like, I want to make sure that every blow I land is true. Okay, and I'm not meaning that it is on true edge, it's that I am being honest. I'm not only being honest with my opponent, I'm being honest with myself that I'm doing this right. Right, that what I'm doing could be done. And for those of you out there that, you know, that is so important about, right, it needs to be demonstrated that the blows that we are landing were effective. They could have happened that way. There's lots of argument in that direction. So, again, I'm going to get my measure, check where my feet are. Today, I am using a lot more of my sword side lead. Now that doesn't mean I'm not doing my proper rotations, that I'm not using my core for generating that power that I need in the physics. It's just a different style, that's all. Okay? So from in here, making sure that I'm set. I'm now set back. I've actually leaned back. My body mass is slightly back. I've got room that before I even throw the shot, before I even let my hand deliver, my body actually can get into movement. The arm is the last thing that I move. Boy. Well, that's about it for the day. So, think about what I said. Find your time. 6 minutes to 10 minutes a day. Just for this. Your body will appreciate it. Your mind will appreciate it. Your lawn might not. But the time we put in will definitely have an effect on what it is we get out. So that's it from here in the pit. Thanks for being with us. Fight well, everyone.